Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business.
All right, welcome to another episode of Podcats. We have our special segment, Catching Up with Cats, and we're welcomed today by a very, very special guest. It is former student Glenn Kinley. Now, before we get into any questions, Mr. Franz and I had a quick little debate about what year you graduated. Can you tell us, because we have
a lot of money riding on this.
A ton of money riding on this.
You want to take your guess first, or you want me to tell you?
My guess was 2019.
And I said 2017.
2017 was correct.
Dang it.
There you go.
He has to give me his
paycheck.
paycheck.
Lunch now or something, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, you graduated with Gracie Ecker. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
She was, we actually tried to interview her, but we had some technical difficulties. So you ended up being our first Catching Up with the Cats for the year. Okay. And there must be something about the class of 2017.
Yeah. So, so Glenn, I'm going to take you back to 2014 through 2017. Can you tell us about Glenn Kinley in high school? What were you involved in? You know, what classes you took, etc.
Yeah. So probably my big thing was like running. I ran a lot. My dad ran in college, and I started running in sixth grade. And then I tried out for the basketball team freshman year, and then realized maybe I wasn't going D1, and so I switched to focusing on track and cross country a little bit more. So I took that pretty seriously. That consumed a lot of my time. I wasn't ever like that great, but I was okay because I worked really hard at it. As for classes, to be honest with you, and this isn't probably what you guys want to hear on the podcast, but I wasn't
we'll
like the
mute
best
it out
student.
If we have to.
Yeah, cut this part out. I wasn't like the best student in high school. I think at times I was probably like that kid that was like too cool for school, like, oh, I'm not going to study for this. And then I get a 63, and I fixed that in college. I'll throw that out there. I actually took school much more seriously in college, but in high school, I didn't take it too serious. I mean, I wasn't horrible. Like I didn't fail classes and stuff, but I could have, if I had applied myself, I could have been much better and probably saved my parents some more money in college. But honestly, senior year was when I took two classes that ended up being what I got in degrees in college. And so my senior year, I took a journalism class, which I tell people I wasn't a big fan of reading. And so I found the one English credit that I could get that didn't involve reading many books. I could just write. I've always liked to write. I just didn't like to read that much. So I found out that journalism, they didn't assign us books, and I would get an English credit. So I took that class. And then my senior year of high school, I took a innovative entrepreneurship class where we actually were not in school for the first 2 hours of the day. I don't know if they still have this or not, but first and second hour, we were going out to different businesses every day, and we would talk to business owners and people that launched their own business and talk to them about what they did and stuff like that. And so I liked those two things enough, and my parents said, what do you want to get a degree in? And I was like, I like this journalism class, and I like this entrepreneurship class, so I got a dual degree in journalism and entrepreneurship and went from there. So currently not totally using the entrepreneurship degree, but I'm obviously using the journalism degree, and we'll see. Maybe the entrepreneurship degree could come in handy someday whenever I decide to do my own thing. We'll see.
All right, so you've already talked about a couple of your favorite classes. I would assume those were two of your favorite classes. How about a couple of your favorite teachers or teachers that had the largest impact on you at Normal West? Yeah,
so Mr. Hoder taught my journalism class, and I liked that. And then I had a number of classes. Like I'm not just saying this, I actually did always like the business classes. I think that's kind of what led me to do the entrepreneurship thing my senior year. I felt like the average high school kid complaint is like, when are we going to use this, right? And I felt like in the business classes, I didn't actually have to ask that. I was like, oh, this is real life stuff. Maybe you'll use it, maybe you won't, depending on what you go into or what you do. But it certainly is stuff that you could end up using someday. And so I enjoyed the business classes. And then I think probably as I got older in high school, I started to, I don't even know if I can say mature because I wasn't that mature even my senior year, but I started to maybe like relate to teachers a little bit more and understand like why they do what they do and have a greater appreciation for that. Both my parents were teachers and stuff like that. And so I could never get in too much trouble because both my parents were in Unit 5. And so things would get back to them rather quickly if I was being a dummy at Normal West. But I had a number of classes and teachers that I actually enjoyed. And honestly, I was never I never loved school as far as I don't know if I just wasn't a good student but I didn't hate being at school, if that makes sense, because I had a lot of friends and I liked the camaraderie of whatever it may be in between classes or even in classes when you finish your work and stuff like that and talking to my friends. And so as much as I maybe wasn't the best student, I think I enjoyed all the things that came with school and the community that it gave me and stuff like that.
Well, I want to clarify, we did not pay Glenn to say that. So,
well, I will. Yeah, I will say, like when you talked about business classes, we've heard that before, because it is practical, and I think that's one of the best things about high school is you get those opportunities to take more practical classes. So, all right, one more question, not one more, but another question for me. What was your favorite memory in high school? Of course, we'd rather not have to edit this out, so keep it.
No, I got an appropriate one for you. I think I guess I don't know if you mean at high school or while I was in high school, but my senior year, the fall of my senior year is when the Cubs won the World Series. That was a special memory, obviously away from school, but honestly did tie into school because I remember playing Go Cubs Go in my classes.
Yeah.
And I think me and a couple buddies were driving around the parking lot of Normal West waving a W flag.
That is
and
awesome.
So that was a cool memory just because it was not everyone there was Cubs fans, but a lot of people were just all behind this one thing. And so that was pretty sweet. I enjoyed that. And then made a lot of memories on the cross country team and on the track team, whether it was at meets or the bus rides to and from, or I guess not unique thing, but one thing with running is we'll go out for a 7-mile run and you're talking to now 3 or 4 of your buddies for however long that run takes you. And so I felt like I built some high quality relationships from that, just from spending a lot of time with these guys while we were trying to get through a distance run or whatever it was. And so I enjoyed a lot of those. I think, I don't know that I have I guess those would be a couple things, but I think there was just a lot of I played ultimate Frisbee. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
And I had a really, really good group of friends. I was blessed with just a great group of friends. I was thinking about this before I joined the call, actually. I felt like my group of friends was a unique mix of a few guys that I had gone to school with since kindergarten at Prairie Land, and then a few guys that maybe we got to know at Parkside in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and then a few more guys that didn't go to Prairie Land or Parkside, and we met at Normal West. And so just had a unique group of guys and a good group of guys, and I still keep in touch with a lot of those guys. And actually was down in Nashville for work this past December and stayed with some friends from high school. And so it's good to catch up with those guys. I think that the Cubs World Series would have to be up there, but I had a lot of memories that I probably haven't, before you asked me that, taken enough time to appreciate. But I'm sure if I thought through it more, I'm sure I could list 100 more for you.
Yeah, that's a great memory from Mr. Franz and I too. We were actually together for that Cubs World Series, so I remember playing that. I remember playing Go Cubs Go the entire day that next day.
I don't remember being in school the day after. I think I was gone that day.
Yeah. No, that was a special one. I can remember running out. McCade Brown grew up 2 or 3 doors down from me, and so I can remember running out into the street and meeting him in the street with both of us had a W flag.
That's
and
awesome.
Running around the neighborhood.
I'm sure the Starkeys had to be outside too, right? You live not too far down from the Starkeys.
Yes, yeah, they were close.
They're big Cubs fans.
We probably woke a lot of people up, but yeah, that was certainly a fun memory. And now McCade's, pitched against the Cubs last year, so he might be a better guest than I am. But just settle for me.
Okay, so after high school, tell us about your path when you left here.
Yeah, so I went to school at Kansas State in Manhattan, Kansas. They call it the Little Apple, and loved it there. To be honest with you, I looked at a few different schools, and like I said, I wasn't the most responsible kid in high school, and so my parents eventually were it was probably around this time, my senior year. My parents were like, "Dude, you gotta pick a college. What are we doing?" And so I can remember texting my mom back at a stoplight and being like, I'll go to Kansas State. And loved it, had visited and ended up doing 4.5 years there, which I'll blame on the dual degree. I'll say that's why it took me an extra semester. But really enjoyed it out there. Picked it for a number of reasons. They had the journalism degree I could get. They had an entrepreneurship degree I could get, and they would let me do both of those together. And then honestly, I've always been, obviously I work in sports now, but I've always loved sports and had an obsession of sports. And so I loved that I knew there was a big sports atmosphere there, Big 12 basketball, Big 12 football. I could go to games and be in the student section. And it was the type of environment, it's a college town. Like Manhattan is a college town. And so I could be in the type of environment where on a Saturday in the fall, the town revolved around that football game. And I loved that. And so joined a fraternity at Kansas State and made a bunch of great friends that I still talk to regularly. And honestly, probably one thing that was similar is that I was just involved. And whether it be I don't think I thought of it as like, okay, I need to get involved now. What 3 things do I want to sign up for? It was just natural. I made friends, and then what they were doing, okay, we were playing in the sand volleyball intramurals, and we were joining the fraternity flag football league, and we were going to the games on Saturdays, and we were, whatever it may be. And so I had a great experience there. As far as the school itself was good, but then made great friends and fell in love with that place. Like Manhattan, Kansas will always have a special place in my heart just because I think it's good people out there. A lot of people who just like love purple. And I remember when I got there just thinking like these people love this place. And I think that's cool. I think it's cool when you're at a place where the people there are happy and take a lot of great pride in that place. And that's what I saw at Kansas State.
A place like that now, obviously.
Yeah, I think like there's absolutely truth to that. Like I think that people who aren't just like there, oh yeah, I'm here, I guess I'll do this for now. You know what I mean? Like it's even true at the station that I work with, which we can get into. But like I think there's people that I work with that could say, okay, yeah, let's get this show on the air. You know what I mean? But instead, it's like a lot of people take great pride in like we're gonna have a really good product and something that we can be proud of. And I think that's cool. I've been someone who when I like to go all in and I like to do things like to the very best of my ability. And so seeing that, whether it was at Kansas State or at where I work now, or even at Normal West when I was there, I think like probably helped propel me into that mindset.
So you graduate from K-State then?
Yes. Actually, so I started working full time before I graduated from K-State. So I interned at a station in Topeka, Kansas, a TV station out there, and I interned there the summer before my senior year. So not my last semester, but my last full year. Interned there and then worked there part time for a full year, kind of during my senior year of college. And then about August, right before my last semester started, they had a full time opening. And it was TV jobs are interesting because typically in TV you're on a contract, and in a sports department, depending on the market and what city you're in and what station you're at, there might only be 2 or 3 sports people at that station. So I knew that if I didn't take that opportunity when it opened up in August, it probably wasn't going to be there in December when I actually graduated. So I went full time. My last semester of college, I was the president of my fraternity. I was a full-time student, and I was working full-time an hour away in Topeka. And so that was maybe the busiest semester of my life. I had to manage my time well during that semester. But then I worked at KSNT was the station in Topeka. I worked there, I'm trying to think, full-time would have been from, was that 2021? So August of 21 to August of 24, if I'm not mistaken.
So 3 years.
That was my first job out of college.
3 years, and then you decide to move back into Central Illinois. Talk about that move.
Yeah, so my contract was, like I said, TV, everything's contracts. And so my contract was coming up, and I had talked to my boss there and realized it was like probably just time for me to move on. And one thing about me is I've never, a little like inside baseball TV is like everything's about market size lots of times. And so the markets are all numbered. Like New York is market number 1, Chicago is market number 3, so on and so forth. Topeka was market number 140. And it's all about the size of the viewing area, the demographic, that stuff. And so, but I have never cared about that too much. There's a lot of people in TV, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but it's like, I'm going to sign my 2-year contract. I'm going to go to a bigger market, 2-year contract, bigger market, bigger market. And that comes with like more pay, more resources, maybe bigger and cooler cities, if you want to call it that. I just have never thought that way. Had it worked out, I would have stayed in Topeka for a while and I'm very happy here in Champaign. So I took a job at WCIA, which is where I'm at now in Champaign. It kind of I was very lucky in that things just kind of lined up. I prayed a lot throughout that process. Like that was my first time I would say even like applying and searching for a job, because my first job out of college I had since before I graduated, and I had been working there part-time. So I didn't even really apply or like do a job search. So that was like a scary time of my life. And I just prayed and asked God, like, would you make this clear? Would you just make it like hit me in the face? Don't leave it up to me, if you will. And I felt like that happened. There were other things that didn't come through, and this opportunity, I talked to now my boss, our news director, Maggie, and I thought she was great. I visited the station. Obviously, I'd been in Central Illinois, and I had even been in Champaign, but visited the station and learned a little bit more about what they do, and met some of what are now my coworkers, and just felt like the stars aligned, I guess you could say, and it was an obvious next step. I was 7 hours away. Now I'm an hour away. It was a career step forward. And I think one thing that I loved about it going in, and I found this to be true, I really love and take pride in kind of like what we were talking about earlier, like feeling like I provide value to people, like feeling like I provide value to our viewers, our readers, followers, whatever it may be, and that I actually give them something that maybe they wouldn't get elsewhere, right? And so when I was out in Kansas, I was fortunate enough to cover 2 Super Bowls when we covered the Kansas City Chiefs, and that was incredible, like incredible memories. We'll never forget that. But I've told people before, and I don't want this to sound ungrateful, but if I'm being totally honest, people were going to get their Kansas City Chiefs news either way, right? Like, I wasn't probably telling, not to discredit myself, I wasn't probably telling them anything about Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid that ESPN wasn't also telling them, Here in Champaign, I feel like I do provide some value. There's other like really good reporters on this beat, but from covering U of I to covering like our other local colleges, Parkland Community Colleges right here, we cover a bunch of other JUCOs. Eastern Illinois is in our viewing area, and I feel like we are so tied in to the Illini and like all over everything Illini that provides value to people, and we're able to like help people get to know this team or these players. Or Illinois basketball had 6 players from Europe on the team, and so telling them about those guys and like what it's like for them to be playing basketball in Central Illinois. And so I love that about my job. And then, like I mentioned, I think I work with a lot of great people who take a lot of pride in what we do. I think going back to what I said, the market size thing, I think we try to like do big market things, if you will. It's easy in this industry to like, well, we don't have all these resources. We don't have this, and this. We're not in Chicago. We don't need to do that. Like, we try to do big things and not let anything that I think we're market 90. Like, that's not going to hold us back or let us think that, well, we shouldn't do this or we can't do this because we're this market or because we only have whatever it may be, because we're not in a huge city. We're not in Houston. We're not in whatever, Chicago, LA. And so I think that's cool. A lot of people that want our product to be great, and I got a good team here on my sports team, and a lot of people that help me out here, and so I'm happy where I'm at. Things are good here.
Awesome. So I've seen you several times, just kind of stumbled upon a few of your clips, which is just so cool to see. Every time I stumble across those, and I've been meaning to reach out to you about those. But like, so can you tell us a little bit about more your job specifically? Are you just covering like mostly colleges? Are you also covering high school sports? What exactly do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, we try to cover everything, and so we can't get to every single game in the viewing area, but our viewing area goes from Champaign and Decatur and Springfield are all in our viewing area, and then we go all the way east, pretty much to the Indiana border. Like Danville is in our viewing area. And so we stretch quite a wide range. We have an official partnership with University of Illinois Athletics, so we're the official TV station of Illinois Athletics. So we cover them a ton, not really because of that partnership, but just because if you're living in or around Champaign-Urbana, that's the thing that people care about the most is Illinois Athletics. And so we cover the Illini a ton. I've gotten to go on the road with them and cover a bunch of cool stuff from football and basketball. And but then, yeah, to answer your question, we cover high school sports quite a bit as well, whether that be like feature storytelling or going to the game and getting the highlights. And so, as far as like I'm trying to think the best way to sum up, I'm our sports director, so I plan out our coverage and plan out who's going to cover what each day, and then I anchor the news at 6 and 10, typically Monday through Friday. Anchor the sports part of the news, I should say. And I'm in studio for that, but oftentimes out gathering interviews, stuff like that, going to games, filming highlights, doing a live shot from the field for our shows, stuff like that. And so it's a little bit of everything. If it's sports and it's in our viewing area and people care about it, we're going to try to cover it. And I enjoy it, but yeah, it's a lot as far as like there are options, which I guess is a good thing as far as what we could cover and stuff like that. But my main job would be planning out our coverage, who's going to cover what, where are we going to be on each day, and then actually doing the shows at 6 and 10 every night, and then getting interviews, gathering content, and then putting the shows together, obviously, is a big part of my day every day as far as writing my scripts, putting in the graphics in the shows, editing the video, editing. I go out and do an interview, and then I'm maybe an interview guy for 5 minutes, but I'm going to use 25 seconds of that interview in our 6 p.m. show. And so chopping that up and putting it on air and getting all that together. And that's one of the things where like maybe in, at WGN or I don't know, in a bigger market, you might have like a sports producer who puts the shows together. Here I am, our sports producer and our sports anchor and reporter and do it all. But I enjoy that. Like I don't know.
So are you sure you have enough time for this interview? Because it sounds like you're pretty darn busy.
I'm good. I got an Illinois football player I'm interviewing at 2:30, and then another one at 3:00. So we're good until then.
So this is kind of off topic here and off script, so we can cut this. But I'm just curious. But I graduated from Tuscola, so obviously.
Oh, there we go. You're a warrior.
Yep, I was. So have you met Justin Bozarth then? The head basketball guy, because he's one of my good friends. We were in each other's weddings and whatnot.
That's awesome.
You'll have to mention that next time.
I like Tuscola. I like going to these small towns. We do an Athlete of the Week segment, and so that gets me to these small towns, or like high school football, high school basketball, getting to these small towns. They had a really good basketball player this past year. I think he's going to EIU maybe.
Yep.
But yeah, they had a good team. I like these small towns, and as long as Tuscola has a Casey's, so it's good in my book.
Right, exactly. So another question I was going to have about your job specifically is, did you have to, because I do notice this about a lot of sports anchors, is it's like they almost have to develop like their own voice. Is that something that you had to work on over time?
I think maybe kind of the opposite for me, as far as like working on not trying to have a TV voice. And like the piece of advice that I've gotten from a number of people, I talked to like Len Casper, bumped into him outside of a Cubs-Cardinals game years ago, or Boog Shambi, who now calls the Cubs. I talked to him at a KU game because he does a lot of college basketball stuff. They just told me, like, be yourself. And that's what I try to do. And so don't get me wrong. Like, if we were sitting here on the couch and watching a game and we were just talking about like, oh, that was a great catch, whatever, my voice then probably sounds different than my voice on TV. I hope that when, like, even like right now, my voice when I'm projecting and I'm speaking up and I'm speaking clearly, I hope that's kind of similar to what I sound like on TV. I don't want it to be like, oh, this is his TV voice. I'm sure I have a little bit of that.
Or something, yeah.
Yes,
no, you sound
totally
natural.
Fake, right?
You're doing well.
So I appreciate that. Yeah, I just don't want it to sound fake and sound like, oh, this guy, he doesn't sound like that, And so I'm sure when I have a microphone on and stuff, I do speak up and maybe enunciate better and things like that. But my goal is to not totally have a TV voice, and some of that comes with like scripting and stuff like that. Again, I apologize if this is too far in the weeds for TV, but like in the teleprompter, maybe not reading it word for word, or I do write my own scripts. And so I'll read through my scripts out loud before I go on TV. And probably every day there's something I read where I'm like, no, I wouldn't say that. That doesn't sound natural. Let me take that out. Let me add in something else. Or even like ad-libbing little things. Like we're on time constraints in TV, so I can't go totally rogue, but adding before a highlight, check out this play, or that's unbelievable. Something like that. Like throwing in those like two words, half a sentence that is, I'm not just reading, and then in the third inning, Pete Crow Armstrong hits a double to right center. Like, I'm actually kind of enjoying these highlights and reacting to them as we go. And so I hope that I'm able to not sound like a robot on TV, I guess.
Cool.
All right, we got 2 more questions. The first question that we're going to ask you has to do with this board that you probably can't see because you're on a different camera, and I think you're just seeing Mr. Burgess. But it has we call it Wildcat Madness, and we ask all our guests that are former Wildcats what kind of was their best or favorite tradition at Normal West. So some of these I'm not going to name because they're more staff related. But FMP is one of them.
Okay.
Senior Bricks.
I did that. I was a mentor.
Okay. FMP, Senior Bricks.
Okay.
King of Hearts. It's a great day to be a Wildcat.
Slogan.
Our slogan.
Okay.
West Fest. And then our school fight song.
Okay.
So you want me to say them again?
No, I think I got
Okay.
it. I didn't paint a brick. I don't know why, but if you have a student that you don't like, just tell them that's their assignment for the day. Go find my brick in the hallway, and they'll be out there for a while.
That's a great idea.
My younger sister, who's a senior at Normal West right now, Karen, she'd be mad at me because she's a big fan of West Fest. She was really excited for West Fest this year. I would probably say FMP. Honestly, I felt like that benefited me on both ends of it. Like, I think when I was a freshman, that was helpful as far as just getting acquainted and having someone to ask questions to. And I still remember like my mentor who I was assigned, like him being helpful and stuff like that. Even just like seeing someone in the hallway and like having another familiar face, that was helpful. And then honestly, I think it's funny because I then did the program and I was one of the freshman mentors thinking, oh, I'm going to help out these freshmen, but I probably actually learned more than they did through that experience as far as relating to them and like how I can be helpful and even like teaching and leadership just in general, you know, like what is good leadership, what do they respond to, stuff like that. And so I would probably say that one. I think that was a valuable experience for me. Probably as valuable when I was a senior, when I was doing it, as it was when I was a freshman.
Shout out to Jason Clockingay.
Yeah.
And, of course, Bernie Charo, the OG FMP director. Last question, and maybe you can't say too much because who knows, but what's in the future for Glenn Kinley? What do you see yourself doing? Do you see yourself in Champaign for the long term?
Or Bristol, Connecticut. Will we see you there?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The short answer probably I don't know. I'm very content where I am, and I'm not saying this as a cop-out answer to be cliche because let me tell you, coaches say this to us, and I just always assume it's a cop-out answer. But maybe now that I'm going to say it, I'll actually give them the benefit of the doubt. But I take a lot of pride in like being where my feet are. I think that I am not someone who's like focused on the next thing until it's time for the next thing. And so right now I'm happy where I am. I like my station. I like Champaign. I'm a very, very simple guy in the sense of like in Champaign, some people might be like, well, I don't know. You know, some people like bigger cities. Some people like more things. Like I'm not someone who likes a lot of bells and whistles, if you will. Like I'm very simple. Champaign, I got a bunch of small towns around with Casey's. There's a Chipotle here. There's a place where I can get my coffee. I got a gym. There's churches I can go to, and I got a good workplace. And so I'm happy where I'm at. We'll see. Like, does it work out long term? I don't know. Like, I hope it does because I'm content where I'm at. And like I said, I feel like I provide some value to the viewers, and I'm close to home. That's a benefit. So I'll be happy if I'm here long term. The one thing I would say, and this is like not spoiling anything for anybody as far as my boss or whoever would know this, is like the TV industry and sports specifically, one challenge is that the schedule is both unusual and unpredictable. In that the reason this was the perfect time for me to do this interview is because my average work day is like 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. because I have a show at 6 p.m. and a show at 10 p.m. And so, but if there's a press conference at noon on one day or a press conference at 11 on one day in the morning, I might be going to that. And then you're traveling for these games. And if there's something right now, I'm kind of working Monday through Friday, but typically in the fall and during basketball season, I'm not. So my days off might be Sunday, Monday, or Sunday, Wednesday, or whatever works best on a given week. And so the schedule unpredictability right now is fine with me. I'm single. I live by myself. I got a 1-bedroom apartment in Champaign, and I'm not, other than work, I don't have many obligations. And so right now it's great, and I'm good with it. And it means I don't have to wake up too early, which is great. There are people who have made it work and retire doing this job and have made it work with a wife and kids. And there are people who get out of it when they have a family and they actually want to work a more regular schedule and have more time with their families and stuff like that. So we'll see. I'm probably a long way from having to worry about that, but that would be the I don't know if that was, I was going to say the simple answer, but I don't know if that was a simple answer. But
That's a great answer.
Absolutely.
Mr. Burgess, you have anything else?
No, that's all I got. This was an absolute pleasure.
Yes.
It was great hearing from you.
It's always good when we can get celebrities on
Absolutely.
the show. We had Leah Marlene. Leah
maybe
Marlene
do
was
like
on last
a few
year.
people in small towns in Central Illinois. I don't know. I don't
I
know.
think
if
we'll
can
probably be
take the celebrity
compensated from YouTube
Yeah,
for how many views we're about to get.
yeah.
side. Yeah, dude, you might want to get ready. Yeah, the channel is gonna go crazy.
All right, Glenn. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule for
sure.
joining
Yeah.
us here on the Catching Up with Cats portion of our podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Yep. Take care. Thank
Take
you.
care.